Hello everyone, welcome to what I guess we're calling a sort of PinkUn Deadline Day live special. Now, the astute of you will have noticed that we're not doing a PinkUn Show this Wednesday night because of Deadline Day. We were going to have Ed on the show, Ed Couzens-Lake, Norwich City author extraordinaire, but we of course cancelled the show because of Deadline Day. But Ed, being Ed, you're still in Norwich, so we thought, well, let's make the most of it.
Let's talk Deadline
and let's have
Day.
a chat.
Yeah, definitely.
A chat about Norwich stuff and all sorts, and especially around the transfer window, because Ed, you've written a lot about Norwich City in the past, and you've gone through decades, basically.
Yeah,
have you caught up with yourself yet?
Yeah, we're doing the noughties at the moment.
Noughties at the moment.
So that's how in the autumn.
That's not bad, is it? So no. 70s, 80s and 90s already in the bag?
They're all done. Noughties is done. I have been asked to do the 50s and the 60s, but we'll see.
Yeah, you've got to go backwards as well. You can do the whole gamut.
Yeah.
The whole gamut. So, therefore, at this time of current deadline days, where we all go a little bit manic for a day or a month, as may be the case, I thought we'd pick your brains on it all, Ed. I mean, this way that deadline day is now and the transfer windows, do you enjoy it?
No, I don't, to be quite honest with you. Deadline day used to be sometime in March.
Yeah, it used to be one, didn't it?
Yeah,
one of the year.
And I remember coming home from work or whatever, and it would just be on CFAX, 12 pages of all the deals, and that would pretty much be it. And nobody really thought anything of it. But now the hysteria around it is... And I appreciate it's exciting for the game and for all the rest of it, but it sort of detracts from the football a little bit. So no, I don't like it.
It certainly... I mean, it's become an event in its own right, of course. I have an issue with the summer window because I don't see any reason why the summer window should close into the season. Everyone should know what they've got to play with before the season kicks off, in my mind. And hopefully, it seems like an appetite to change that going forward.
And I'm not sure that the reason for it is actually paying off, because when it came in, they were saying, well, it's to stop the big clubs just buying players when they want and stockpiling them. But they already are. I think I tweeted this morning, Chelsea got 36 out on loan.
Yep. None of them are going to play in the first team.
They're never going to play in the first team, but they're all obviously talented young players.
When, because I mean, I remember, we're going to have a bit of a reminisce now, aren't we? But I remember going around delivering newspapers when I was a wee boy, and that would be the first I would find out about transfer news and Norwich players being bought and sold. I mean, and I guess that was the case for years and years.
Going way back, I remember having my haircut at Albert's in Heacham.
There you go, Albert.
I don't know if he's there now. And you pick up the EDP for that day and you think, oh, Norwich have signed a player. And my earliest memory is when we signed Roger Gibbons, and that's the first anyone knew of it. On the back page, Roger Gibbons signs, and it's, the picture of them sitting there with a pen in their hand smiling at the camera. But now you sort of know they're signing before they sign almost. Yeah,
it's very true. We still try to do our best, of course, getting around all that, but as is always the way. So you've obviously written about a lot of Norwich decades and what have you. I wanted to ask you, in terms of your favourite and worst Norwich City signings.
Favourite signings? Well, there's the obvious ones, isn't there? You've got to talk Hucks. If you're talking about favourite signings, you've got to talk Holty. If you're going a bit under... I
mean, those guys are... When you look back at Norwich over, say, 50 years, those guys are right.
They stand out.
For you.
Yeah, they stand out. But if you want to look at the not so obvious, Martin Peters, there wasn't much of a fanfare when we signed him. Everyone said he's too old. He's only 32, I think, when we signed him, so he wasn't old. Adam Drury, what a great signing that was.
Absolutely.
Barry Fry's great, he's the best left back outside the Premiership. Gary Holt at about the same time. That's a great signing. Going back a little bit again, I remember John Ryan signing. What a great player he turned out to be. Not many people remember him, but he was a wing back in the way that Ivo Pinto is now.
Yeah.
Not so.
Couldn't defend.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's too easy.
He got many goals. He got loads of goals, but he wasn't so much of a defender. But bad signings. I mean, I was thinking on that today, and I was thinking of Glen Road actually when we just got loan after loan after loan.
I mean, there was a point where Norwich, all clubs are limited, certainly in the EFL, to 5 loan players in a matchday squad. So there's basically no point in signing more because you're going to invite trouble, basically. Norwich have got 4 at the moment. Morris Leitner, of course, so they've just signed Angus Gunn, Harrison Reed, and I knew I was going to forget therefore the 4th one, which is, of course, Marcus Edwards.
Marcus Edwards, yes.
Just about survived that one. So, and I mean, under Glen Road, there was like 9 loan players or something.
I think we had 16 in total that season, and they've never come to anything. Adrian Leitjar, Elliot Omazui.
Elliot Omazuzi, yeah. He had a difficult time after leaving
Troy Eubanks.
Troy Archibald Henville.
He's at Exeter now, I think.
He is, yeah. He's actually had a career, whereas a lot of them haven't.
A lot of them just disappeared, without trace.
And if anyone's interested in what happens when you sign 9 loan players, you basically get relegated. Because that's what happened to Norwich, pretty much.
You're asking for trouble.
Yeah, and we've seen, it's not just about buying players, of course, it's about selling them too. And we've seen Norwich fans, well, actually today, quite upset about Glen Middleton's sale, and we're doing lots of live videos today about all the comings and goings, or not, over deadline day. So check out those on the PinkUn YouTube channel and PinkUn.com for us to discuss all of those and Glen. But people are angry about, for whichever reason, Glen leaving. Yeah, people were upset when Alex Pritchard left. I remember being upset when Craig Bellamy was sold, especially, and I was probably too old to be upset. Yeah. I mean, that always happens, of course, because these are players that you desperately want to see play for your club. Are there ones where you still go, oh?
Yeah, the very first one was Kevin Reeves.
Yeah.
And they had the famous banner in the Barclay that said, "No Reeves, no future, no fans." I think people took that really, really badly.
What was it that made that such a bad one?
I think we'd bought him for not very much money. We were trying to establish ourselves in the first division as it was at the time.
When was that? That would have been
80, I think. 81 season. And there was just a sense of inevitability about it. As soon as he started getting the goals, you just knew he was going to go. A bit like Maddison at the moment. It was like, well, he's going to go. And he went. I was disappointed about that. The other one I was really disappointed about was Real Fox. Because that came out of nowhere.
And was that before Chris Sutton? I can't remember.
I think he went just after Sutton.
So I think there was an element then of, okay, Chris Sutton's gone. We kind of expected that. But then as soon as Real Fox went as well, it was like, oh, this is over now.
I mean, people talk about a fire sale now. This isn't a fire sale. That was a fire sale at that time.
Who was, when Kevin Reeves was sold, who was in charge then? Was that Arthur?
John Bond.
It was John Bond.
Yeah.
And Arthur South, was he the
Arthur South
chairman?
Yeah.
There we go. How about, we touched on some of the worst signings. In terms of permanent signings, are the ones where, because we have that discussion, it always feels a bit harsh, because we'll say, oh, Stephen Naismith, that's proved an awful signing, or whatever, Ricky Van Wolfswinkel, but there's always extenuating circumstances in there as well.
I've been talking about Stephen Naismith to people today, and everyone's writing him off, but when he signed, people were excited. I thought, what a signing for Norwich, Stephen Naismith, he's a big name. So he's up there. He has to be up there simply because we expected so much more from him. Permanent signings who have disappointed. I think the lad from Belgium, Vadis Oji, is probably.
Vadis Adidja, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and he's done really well since.
Yeah, and he's played in the Champions League, scored goals, and he's doing all right.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't the recruitment after all. Yeah, we won't get stuck into that, don't worry.
But you can play around with a feasible midfield we could have had. We could have had Nathan Redmond, Robbie Brady, him, and Johnny Howson. Would have been quite sweet.
It would have been good one day, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting about that January window 2 years ago, wasn't it? 2015, 16, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
2-3 years ago. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, Norwich spent £20 million. Newcastle spent 29, I think. Both got relegated at the end of the season, so that's always the way. Let's just touch them on Norwich now, Ed. Are you happy with what you're seeing? Because I see two elements to this. One, there's the long-term plan we're seeing from Norwich and the way they're going about it. That, in turn, I think is tricky to reconcile with a bid for promotion this season, albeit it's looking incredibly unlikely with where they are now. Add into that, Norwich haven't got any money, yet the supporters are being charged quite a lot for their season tickets and for their commitment. There's a lot of things for Norwich to balance in terms of this transition.
Yeah, there is. And I think they've been very upfront about it, haven't they? I mean, the very famous quote made about where all the money has gone. The season ticket prices are being held. I think most people expected a reduction, understandably. So they're trying to get in every penny. I never thought Maddison would go, and we've got, 5-6 hours to go. It doesn't look like he's going anywhere. But it may well happen in the summer. But,
I'm going to look really stupid if it does happen then.
Yeah, you are, yeah. But yeah, they're being upfront. The money's gone. We've got to get it back in. We hold our hands up. We made a mistake, and they did.
So in terms of where Norwich are now, because this is the context really, we've got a lot of fans who've been around for 10 years or whichever, and they've seen Norwich playing in the top flight for 7 of those years. I know that there would have been fans who would have followed the club heavily in the 80s, and most of that time Norwich were in the top flight as well. In the 90s, of course, early 90s, they were almost top of the pile. In terms of where Norwich are now, do you look at it as they're sort of below the mean, they're kind of average for where the club's always been? Where should the expectancy be? And
I think our natural place in the order of things is top 10 Championship, bottom 10 Premier League. But the ambition, obviously, is to break out of that bottom 10 Premier League and to get to where the Stokes are and the West Broms. And I mean, look at West Brom, they've got Sturridge in on loan. That would have been unthinkable a little while ago. Stoke have brought in a lot of money, so it shows if you keep your place in the Premier League, you can start paying massive salaries and big transfer fees. And I think that's where the club should aspire to being. However, whether the model, even if they do establish themselves, will permit them to do that, I don't know.
I guess
that would be interesting.
West Brom are possibly closest, to where Norwich are, maybe Swansea before they were bought out, but it's really hard, isn't it, to gauge where these other clubs are. I think if we did
go back up, I think even after 2 or 3 seasons in the Premier League, if it happened, I don't think they'd go back to buying players for lots of money. I think they're going to stick to where they are now and just keep bringing in the good young players for the lower fees.
It's not really something that's worked for Norwich in the past, is it? Spending a lot of money, so there we go. Okay, well, Ed, you ask a lot of quiz questions.
I do.
You've written a quiz book, in fact, haven't you?
I have.
We're doing quite well out of plugs for today, so this is good.
Plugs, thank you.
There is a quiz book that Ed's written as well, and all of his books are great, obviously. Have you got a favourite quiz question?
Yeah,
I like that question.
There is one. There is one linked to Norwich. It's English players who have played for English football clubs who have scored in a World Cup final.
Right.
And we had one, obviously, in Martin Peters.
Yes.
Jeff Hurst is another one.
Yes.
Who are the others?
Emmanuel Petit.
Yep.
Because you might have told me that before.
Because I might have told you that
earlier. I'm not sure. I'm assuming they must be French. Because there's been a lot of French
one's
players.
Italian.
One's Italian.
Yeah.
Oh, Materazzi.
Materazzi. I think
because you might have told me that earlier as well.
Because you jumped this on me when I came in.
I did, yeah.
And I'm sure there's another one.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favourite.
We think there's another one.
Yeah.
And you had a little line about Jeff Hurst. Could have ended up becoming a Norwich player.
John Bond made a bid for Jeff Hurst. Hurst chose Stoke over Norwich. He also tried to bring in Alan Ball as well.
Really?
Yeah.
What side that'd have been?
Yeah, Ball and Peters in midfield.
Yeah. Where the World Cup was won, Norwich City, after the World Cup was won. Yeah, forget West Ham. Brilliant. Well, what we thought then, just to round this off, thank you so much for coming in, Ed, and I'm sorry it's not a proper show.
No.
But, we'll get you on the show
another
very
time,
soon, I hope.
Sit and have a Guinness with you.
Exactly, that'd be very nice. Well, I'll obviously have a water. Actually, we watch the show, I don't have a water. The PinkUn Show, every Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock down various drinking establishments in Norwich is the way we do it now. Some very good ones indeed. But I thought maybe we could give away a signed book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which one do you fancy?
Well, the 80s is going well, and that's a good decade. Mostly First Division football, so I'll give away
Norwich
one of those.
City in the 80s, signed by Ed. We'll give it away if you can answer this question, which Ed's going to... Have you got a question? Should we come up with a question live?
Yeah, we just did the question, didn't we? And then we gave all the answers.
Oh, yeah. Well, we won't do that question.
Okay.
We're now going to see us,
so you're now seeing us struggling to think of a question.
Yeah. We can always edit this bit.
Yeah, we can edit this because we're having a pause now because we answered the question that we're supposed to ask. Yeah, okay. Which player, it was in that decade...
In the 80s.
...did Norwich sign? When he was asked about him, Justin Fashanu said, we haven't signed him, we've signed his milkman.
Okay. That sounds like a great question. I've not got an idea, so I'm going to look blank anyway.
Yeah.
So there we go. Do you want to say that question again once more?
Norwich signed a player in the 1980s of whom Justin Fashanu later said, we have not signed blank, we've signed his milkman.
Who was he?
Who was it?
If you can email the answers to thepinkun at archant.co.uk. That's thepinkun at archant.co.uk. Today is the 31st of January, so let's say we'll give you until the next PinkUn Show, which will be next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock in the evening. Email your answers in, and we will randomly select a winner who will get a signed Ed Couzens
send it to you.
Norwich City book in the 80s. Just send us your name and address, and we'll do the rest. That email address again, thepinkun at archant.co.uk. Brilliant. Ed, then one more, a prediction. Where are Norwich going to finish come the end of the season?
8th.
And is that all right?
Yeah.
That'll do it. Ed, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciated. Thank you all for your time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget pinkun.com for the rest of the deadline day news, and of course on into the rest of the season. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.